Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. And we are about to embark on an exciting new interview with our next guest on the channel. Our next guest can rap good, can produce good, has a new record out that I have praised very heavily on the main channel. We are going to be asking Backxwash all sorts of questions about her musical upbringing, the new LP, and anything else that comes up in the process of this conversation. How are you?
I'm doing okay, and yourself?
Good, good, good. Excited to have this new, fresh conversation that I'm not definitely starting over from scratch for reasons that people don't understand. So you immigrated over to Canada and you're out of Montreal right now. At
Yeah.
what age did you come over to North America?
I came over when I was 17.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, I was in BC for like 9 years. I wasn't really like making music like that until I started bit by bit. I had to move away because I just liked the way Montreal was, and in terms of expressing who I was, I would feel more comfortable if I was in Montreal. And when I came to Montreal, I started rapping again because there's this place called Le Cipher, where you go every week. It's like a jam session, like a hip hop jam session, and you like freestyle, you battle, you rap. And one time I was just like, let me just go check this out. I went to the jam session, drunk out of my mind. I don't even remember what I was spitting. I could see like some guy walking up, like, oh, not her. Because I was so bad because I was like so drunk out of my mind. And I started going like every week. And then I was like, yo, maybe I should go back into like, I should start making music again. And that's how it like just developed. If you're ever in Montreal and they're open, because I know with COVID, they've been a standby, check out the Cypher Jams on Thursday. It's like pretty dope.
Okay. And at what point, does your music and your interest in the occult and your discovery of your gender identity like cross section with like almost like Western goth aesthetics? Because
Yeah.
you to sort of bring it full circle, your uh, opening track has that amazing Black Sabbath sample in it,
Yeah.
where Ozzy's, oh no, no, please God help me. And, in a lot of ways that sort of, again, brings it full circle where you're sort of like referencing some of the earliest, darkest, most occult metal music of all time. So at what time does all of that intersect? Because there's so many layers to all of this in a way.
Well, being raised a staunch Christian, um, I was okay. I was in like the best, like pure, pristine Christian.
Mhm.
Like if my mom says, this is banned in our house, I'll probably do it. So I still had like I would still like ask for forgiveness when
Of,
at the end
of
of the
course, of
night.
course.
Yeah. So metal music was one of the things that was like a big no-no in my house. And I found Black Sabbath through like my uncle's like USB, because he had like used to keep music on like a USB and stuff. And I'm playing this and I'm like, whoa, like this is like very different, and I found it again when I was in my olden days, and I was just like listening to Ozzy, and I was like, he sounds like he's like really in pain. Like he sounds very distressed. Anyway, but I guess it just came back for me, like rediscovering it at like I guess like a later stage while I was making music. I was like, yeah, I really enjoy this stuff, and I should continue listening to more of it, because why was it like why was it like taboo in the first place? So I
Sure.
guess it just came while like rediscovering and making music. I just started rediscovering like other genres and stuff like that.
Hmm. And beyond that, like, is there anything else that you could sort of enlighten us to as far as your musical background? I mean, you went into sort of like this discovery of rap and rapping and, the going to those battles and stuff. But like, at what point are you, producing and putting together beats and stuff like that, because you've been sending at least me, tracks that you've been working on like through emails and for a while.
Yeah, yeah. Making music initially, I started when I was like 12, 13. I heard More Money, More Problems on like the radio, and I was kind of enamored. I was like, what are they doing? Is this like talking while rhyming or something like that? So my sister had to tell me that it's rapid, and she kind of gave me like the basics of it, and I was really interested in it. And when I was 12 years old, I did like a course in like musical theory, and my brother bought like FL Studio. I think it was called Fruity Loops 3 by then.
Yeah.
It was like Fruity Loops 3, and I started making beats, and I was cheating because I knew like one musical scale because I like roughly paid attention, and my idea was that if I just like pinch random notes in this like musical scale, it's going to make sense. So I just started like working through that, and just continued making music. I put out like a mixtape when I was 16. I don't think you can find it anywhere online. Thank you for that, because it's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, it got lost with the MySpace.
Yeah, so it was on MySpace actually, and I don't know if you remember SoundClick. It was like this website that used to give you like the wrong stats. They'll tell you like, oh, you like streamed 1 million times this month, and you'd be like posting it up on your like social medias. Anyway, but yeah, so I started at a young age. I used to make beats for like the people around my neighborhood because I was the one with the software. So people would come in and we would do like exchanges for like beats and stuff. People would like, bring me food and, just like make beats for like different people and writing songs. But stopped a bit when I was like 20, 21, but I rediscovered it when I was 25. So kind of started at an earlier age, but I'm not like a prodigy or anything. My beats were like whack when I was young.
So you were the neighborhood's home studio for a second there.
Oh yeah, for sure. I had like a hookup for burning CDs as well. Like I used to run like a bootleg CD business out of it. Like,
oh wow.
Yeah, like because like the computer was there, so people were like doing like random stuff.
Of course.
It was kind of funny because if you drop a diss track, you would have to send it to like the kid down the street. So my neighbor dropped a diss track for this other guy who was like 2 blocks down the street, and I had to get the USB and I had to give him like, oh, this guy dropped the diss track for you. And they listen to it, and the guy stops and he says, wait a second, you produced this? And I was like, yeah, because the guy came asking for a beat and stuff. I was like, well, why did you bring it? Just like weird dynamics like that.
Yeah. Also, I imagine back then the spreading of the diss track was a lot slower because it had to be burned onto a CD and then onto it and then pass it around. And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's not as sexy as uploading it to SoundCloud and then everybody gets to hear it.
No, you had to. But the cool thing about that is, because the reason why it was situated that way as well is because internet is not that cheap. Was not that cheap when I was growing up. So if you wanted drum packs, you had to get it from like some dude who lives in the other neighborhood, and you would share just like that. And what's cool is by listening to the drum sound, you can actually know where like you can actually know what type of neighborhood this music is coming from, because you're like, oh, that's like drums, that's like the kick from Charleston, that's like a snare from like Northmead, and everybody would have their sounds like that. It was pretty funny.
That's kind of incredible.
Yeah.
That's some crazy fucking musical anthropology shit. Another thing that is really interesting and full circle about your music and a lot of modern trap today is that you are bringing together elements of hip hop and metal, but for a while, like aesthetically and artistically, at least in the mainstream and in the underground too, that's been a little bit of a no. For a while, I would say Limp Bizkit kind of ruined it. All those bands kind of wrecked it. But in a way, now it's coming back again, but it's not so much metal doing a hip hop thing, but it's hip hop doing a metal thing in a way.
Yeah.
You know, it's like kind of just, you know, the baseline genre has changed, but the aesthetic combination is still sort of like, you know, similar. But, you know, still having said that, you know, do you feel like any kind of kinship in your own music to the bands of that era in any way, shape, or form? Is all of that just like doo-doo at this point?
Well, a bit, you know. I like to go back and listen to kind of like the experiments of the fusions. You know, I like to say that one of new metal's detriments was just the lyrics in himself, because some of them were produced and were sonically good. You know, in my opinion, I point back to like early Linkin Park, and I feel like early Linkin Park had like good production, but you know, you had those weird lyrics about Mike Shinoda, with Mike Shinoda, you know, rapping, especially like in the end. So, you know, I feel like in a certain way I do, because I just like looking back, and you know, some of it is done like pretty well. Some of it is just like, let's just forget that era. But you know.
And you know, one more question about sort of like personal tastes and artistic influence. I mean, when it comes to you know, metal music and the occult and even hip hop as well. I mean, all of these worlds coming together. I mean, I have to guess, I have to assume on some level there's like, I don't know, a bit of a movie buff in there somewhere who loves horror movies. And you know, there's always a little bit of that in there somewhere. You know, with those types of people, not to stereotype or anything, but you know, so like, what kind of horror is sort of your jam? Are you more of like, is it more of a cerebral, you know, like what the fuck was that movie? I can't remember. It's escaping me. But is it more of like a slasher B, like blood everywhere sort of thing, like a, you know, weird underground kind of thing, or something that's like, you know, like the Witch, for example, you know, like something that's more of like suspense, something that's more suspenseful, you know, where all of a sudden you shoot over and the crow's eating the tit or whatever, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I like something suspenseful for sure, and something that plays around with cinematography as well, just like interesting.
The movie I was thinking of was Hereditary. I was thinking of
Hereditary.
Hereditary.
Yeah, that's my jam.
Okay.
Yeah, I love Hereditary. Yeah, okay. I love Hereditary. Midsommar was kind of mid. You know, I should have called it Midsommar. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I kind of, you know, I like stuff like that. I watched Mother the other day, and you know, I was like, you know, because the last horror movie that I saw Nicolas Cage in was Wicker Man, and that was hilarious. But it just dawned on me when I tweeted like horror movie recommendations that Nicolas Cage in a horror movie makes so much sense. He's like the perfect person for like a horror movie, just like the facial expressions it makes, like how he moves around. So I watched Mother, and Mother was like fucking incredible. It was like if an MGMT album was like extremely terrifying. That's what it felt like.
Is that the movie with Jennifer Lawrence that you're talking about?
Oh, oops, I messed that up. Mandy.
Oh, Mandy.
Mandy.
Yeah.
No, Mother. I like Mother too. Mother too is great. Yeah.
No, Mother's a mindfuck.
Yeah. Apparently, it was based on the Bible.
Well, yeah, it's a bit of a religious thing. It's a religious thing, and it's almost like an environmental thing at the same time.
Nice.
It's like it's a God thing, but then Mother is also the planet, and it's all just kind of burning down at the end. It's, you know, it's a weird movie because not only is that, I think, too cerebral and abstract for a lot of people to appreciate it, but that is not the kind of movie you want Jennifer Lawrence people going to see. Like Jennifer Lawrence is the kind of actress that people go to see a movie because Jennifer Lawrence is in it, you know. And that is not a Jennifer Lawrence movie. That is not a Hunger Games type of tale. But still. But
you know, you like from like an actor's perspective, you need one of those in like your filmography. You know.
Sure. Yes, you do. You do, absolutely. Yeah. And it's not like she has always played super basic roles or even that I think she's a bad actress. Like, you know, there's also that great movie that she had, Winter's Bone, that she dropped before she got big. Which, you know, I think is an underrated film generally. But, you know, I guessed a bit of a film buff in there for sure. I assumed that was the case. It sort of seemed like that could be the case.
Yeah. even like just like the sonics of like horror movies.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I kind of stay away from sampling horror movies because the sound is like supposed to be creepy. So when you sample it, it's kind of like, oh, this will sound obviously creepy. You know, I kind of like finding moments from other places, but I do, from like a movie perspective, I do like the score design in like horror movies. I think it's pretty great. I think the Omen has got a pretty good one. Rosemary's Baby, I think, has also got a pretty good one. Metropolis also got a pretty good one. It's fine.
So for a quick second, take it back to your family, and I want to remind everyone that you can throw some questions out there for Backxwash using the Q&A tab down below. We will go through them and ask some questions of her in just a few moments. But to go back to your family for a quick second, I mean, we have sort of gotten a bit of the story in terms of the cultural push and pull between the conservatism and the Christianity and the life path that you've obviously chosen. But what is your family's general reaction to the reception of your music and your newfound popularity? I mean, I imagine that might change the perception of what you're doing a little bit, given that there's, I don't know, the audience of people that love it.
Yeah, so I'm a bit of an estranged like child. So I'm not really sure what I know my brother likes it. I keep in touch with my brother, but I haven't talked to my mom and dad in a long time. But I imagine if my mom heard it, she wouldn't like it, and it's probably banned in the house. But yeah, no, I haven't really like talked to them. But I don't, knowing them, I don't think they would like it.
I mean, is there any sort of conception on your family's part of how far you have sort of like spread at this point, with how many articles are being written about you, being on the front of Exclaim, at this point? I mean, you just had that cover story.
Well, because they're back in like Zambia, so
okay.
Yeah, I don't really have like much popularity there.
Got it.
Yeah,
hey, just wait, okay? just give it time. Just give time for things to bubble up, and then you essentially become a hometown hero.
Yeah. I mean,
but
to make the exception.
Still at this point though, with the conversations happening in Canada around your music and the reception that it's received so far, like are we like close to like the Polaris Music Prize conversation? Like, are we close enough to where that's like a discussion yet? Or
yeah, we can talk about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just want to know, like, how are we in sniffing distance of it, touching distance of it? Like, how close are we to the Polaris Music Prize yet? Like, can we hear it? Can we smell it? Can we touch it? Is it not in view? Like, where are we with the Polaris Music Prize?
I'm not so sure, to be honest. It's so many good artists there. You should listen to that Fantano record, by the way. I think you would like it. But yeah, so many good artists there. And my only qualm is that the person who should win it should be an artist who is not already financially okay. Because it would like benefit like so many of the other artists who are on the list. It's like, I love Catron out of like, it's like, I think the 50,000 could go somewhere else. But yeah, Polaris, I don't know how it's gonna go, to be honest. Part of me again is like, these are like corporations, and the record is a bit out there, and people like to go with the safe choice.
Previous prize winner Lido Pimienta, she fucks with your shit heavy. And it's her opinion that your shit is fire. So I think that should count for at least something, right?
I love her so much. When I did a show, when I opened for her, we went back with the family to eat like some Oreo chocolate cake, and I hate chocolate and cake. I couldn't. It was an ice cream chocolate cake, and I couldn't say no because I was just like so starstruck. So I just like finished it in like silence. I was like, thank you. but,
So you were so starstruck with her, you ate something that you hated.
yeah,
Wow.
I was asked for seconds too.
Oh wow. And you
Yeah.
really went in.
Yeah. But yeah, Polaris Prize. I'm not really sure how it's gonna go. Hopefully I win it. If I don't, hopefully somebody else who's as equally as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one more thing before we get into some of the fan questions thrown out here, because you had sort of mentioned live performances in passing. I understand that you're doing like a socially distanced performance, a socially distanced show.
Yeah, at Pop Montreal.
Yeah. Like what is the layout of that? What is the makeup of that, as far as you know? Because this whole concept of doing performances during the pandemic, it's still kind of like a new thing that everybody's dipping their toes into, and you see some people doing it like what seems like the right way. You see some people doing it in a way that's very obviously wrong. Like,
Yeah.
as far as you understand, like how is this like being oriented so far? And do you feel safe and excited to do the show?
Well, I can tell you that it's not like that DJ said in Italy. It's, I guess, 40 people, rooftop. I think it's 2 meters. Every person away from each other. Not allowed to stand. You can only sit. If you don't have a mask, you won't be allowed to come in. And registration for everybody that comes in. And I feel okay about it. Most because of the precautions that are being taken. I feel like safety should be like a big thing, especially when you're doing stuff like this. I'll be sad that I won't be able to jump in the crowd and just like have a show with everybody there, because my performances usually start on stage then go into the crowd. But safety is like the main concern here, so just have to make it like as safe as possible.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, you won't be able to jump on anyone, put a hex on anybody, but
No, not yet.
but I mean, hopefully, I mean, you guys seem to be handling the pandemic better than we are. From what I understand, we're not even allowed where you are yet. They'll just block us at the border. They'll shoot to kill.
Yeah, well, yes and no in terms of how we're handling it. Because what Quebec is just, the Quebec government is just like not that great, to be honest. And part of me is afraid that they think as if they have it under control, and because these restrictions are being loosened, it's going to reach a point where it's going to spike up again. So a bit worried about that, to be honest. I think the cap venue number is around 250 here. And they don't want to do a COVID app because they say they have it under control, which is kind of weird. But, it's like a yes or no type of thing. And, I hope people just, follow like the right procedures to like all of this pandemic precautions and stuff.
Fingers crossed on people making smart choices, but you know how that can go.
Yeah.
All right. Going into some of the fan questions over here, and we have quite a few.
Awesome.
We have first one. What was it like working with Devi and Rook from Black Dresses? Because I know you guys have crossed over a handful of times.
Been such like a huge fan. Black Dresses, incredible. It was just like, Devi and I followed each other on Twitter, and I just used to like, watch from afar, and I was a bit nervous to ask for that feature. So I sent Debbie the Beef of Spells. I was like, hey, do you mind doing a hook for me? And she sent that one back. And I just listened, like on first listen, I was like already in love. Just like 2 seconds in, I was like, yeah, this is the one. This is the one. And, Rook is one of like my favorite guitarists like, ever. And Rook's, the type of music that Rook makes sometimes can be a bit bright, but when you hear the guitar, it also always has that doomness in it, So when like Rook sent that, I was like, I was on the clouds, because this is Black Dresses. I love him so much, and it was a really awesome experience. And long live Black Dresses.
People are asking, are there plans to put the record on vinyl? There are people wondering if the record's going to be on vinyl. They want to know if it's going to be on vinyl at some point. That's all these kids care about, putting things on vinyl.
Working on it, and if there are any new developments, I'll let you know. But like definitely working on it right now. It would be cool. The plan was supposed to be like, the album on one side and Stigmata on the other end.
Yeah, because you just did that new EP, so
yeah,
put them all together.
Yeah,
that's smart.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah,
no, I think so. Going into sort of the idea of putting out music, from my own personal standpoint, a little deeper at this point, given, the discussion around what you're doing, like, are there like labels fielding you or anything, or knocking at your door or annoying you and trying to get into your pants or whatever?
Yeah, I had, a few interactions with some labels, but, I had to ask the question, like, is there anything that I can do that the label can do for me?
That's the fucking question.
Yeah, and the answer that I came up with was like, no, because these people are going to do the same thing that you can do, but they'll own like part of your mastering, and you don't want that.
Exactly.
And especially now, I think there's a lot of things that you can be doing by yourself. Even like in terms of publicists, send your music out is the recommendation I would give. Like, even though you don't receive a response, just send the music out and just continue putting it out. Is what I would say, but no to labels right now. I don't think there's anything that they can give me that I can't do for myself.
Hey, do it yourself. I think that's a smart choice. Be your own boss. So this person's asking a question about something that I remembered I saw earlier, but I had forgotten. Yeah. So did you remove the record or your records off of like streaming right now, and it's up on Bandcamp currently, like for free or something?
Yeah, it's up on Bandcamp for free. Most I can say is that it's an ex-military situation.
Mm-hmm. Is it over a sample clearance thing?
Yeah, over like a sample clearance thing, and so it has to be out for now. But working on seeing if we can get it back there.
Okay, all right. Okay, yeah, just keep us up to date on if that changes. Do you have right now a dream producer collab, or a producer that maybe you would be interested in sort of like making a beat or something for your own projects in the future? Asks Tim Morales, 43.
So dream producer, I would like to collaborate with maybe like Sun O, because the type of stuff that they do is, how you make something so brooding is incredible. I love the Black one, by the way. And obviously Madlib, I'm just like laughing at Madlib making this jazzy flips while I'm there just shouting like a mad woman. And Kanye West, of course. So they'll be like my three like dream producers, and maybe Missy Elliott. But I feel like her type of stuff is a bit too bubbly for the type of music that I do. Wonder Girl, too dope as well. Beats knock like crazy. And I think those would be my five. Those would be the five that I put.
Yeah, I think Wonder Girl's kind of underrated or not discussed enough, especially considering like how many tracks has she essentially like carried Travis Scott on? You know what I mean?
And I feel bad that I feel bad that she's so underrated. She's produced like so many bangers. She's supposed to be like right on top with the other ones.
Just because you mentioned Kanye, and I'm curious, like, do you get any weird or curious vibes off of his like very odd descent into faith and Christianity or anything? Like do you see his actions currently and worry about him personally, or do you feel like it's a bit of an over exaggeration for people to be excited for his new record?
Definitely feel some worry for Kanye. I think he's mentioned before that he suffers from a few mental illnesses and all, and I think the public should just put more care into, probably should just put more care into just the way they approach and talk about him. From the evangelical side, he kind of reminds me of like a lot of people that I knew growing up. Like when I saw that Jesus Talk tweet, I was like, this is something that a pastor back home would have said.
Yeah, I feel like once you're like really deep into the evangelical kind of Kool-Aid, there becomes almost like this discussion around every popular trend where there needs to be like an evangelical version of it. Because it's like you can't just exist on it as an evangelical. It needs to be like its own like little version of it, or its own like separate cutoff space where you're allowed to sort of be in that bubble or something.
Yeah, and like I love everything that Kanye does, but like I don't think that he makes good gospel. It's not like should have gone like Kirk Franklin on his last project.
Next question comes. Oh, sorry. I was saying next question comes from Glyciator, and this person asks, as a person who's never heard your music, how would you describe your artistic style, and what would you like sort of like the takeaway to be for, new listeners to your music when they hear your album for the first time?
So I would say I find it pretty hard to describe my own music because I never really think about it like that. But I would say it's it's honest, it's open, it's dark, and I guess the main takeaway is if you can hear the music or maybe connect with it at a certain level and just kind of like hear the story and see if you can connect with the themes, I guess is what I would say. That's a good question.
Well, I mean, speaking of some of the themes that you dive into as far as like your personal life, I mean, there are at least and maybe this is cause for some of those messages that you were talking about earlier, your friends asking you if you're okay. There are some times on the record where you feel almost like this intense paranoia and sort of like fear about how the world kind of interprets you and understands you, and if that's going to lead to some kind of like hatred, attack, something that's really going to kind of put you on edge or put you in a defensive mode. Like, is that something that, is that a feeling that you battle with kind of persistently? Or
a lot of times, I've been, chased down and, attacked and, just being harassed, just by walking home. So you kind of get that paranoia. The second verse of Into the Void came from a place in which, this guy was following me for like a few blocks, right? So this guy's following me and, I don't really feel safe. And he's like approaching pretty fast. So I'm like, is this the day that it, finally happens? Like, am I going to be like, another hashtag? Then I shit you not, the dude is just like, hey, where'd you get those pants? And I was wearing a dress, right? And I was like, it's a dress. I was like, oh, those are pretty cool. Do you have a cigarette? And I was like, no. I was like, all right, see you later. And the guy just goes. And it's just like the paranoia that you always have in your back of your mind that somebody's going to try to kill you is something that I struggle with as well. And yeah, it's something that I have to battle with, especially every time when I'm coming home from a show. I just can't like walk it alone. I have to be like escorted. I have to walk pretty fast if I'm walking alone. So that's like a paranoia that I deal with because you see a lot of violence that happens to like Black trans women in the news and just like in communities. And like, if somebody had to get you, like the cops wouldn't like give a fuck at all. Like the cops never give a fuck in general, but like the extra don't give a fuck for you. So it does come from like a real place.
And we're obviously talking about how far things have to go culturally in terms of understanding and acceptance of the LGBTQ community and everything that falls under that umbrella. Again, culturally in a general sense, but when you're in that more musical space, Do you feel any more or less safe? Because I mean, you know, not just the music scene at large, but I mean, you're a rapper specifically in hip hop, at least, you know, from an outsider perspective, it seems like the genre also has kind of a far way to go in terms of like understanding and general acceptance. I mean, you know, Lil Nas X, from what I understand, is like the genre's first openly gay hit maker. You know what I mean? Like we're just crossing like, you know, the LG part of like the BTQ, you know, like that part like right now. So, you know, again, I think that sort of illustrates how many more steps have to be taken to kind of get to a better place.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And in terms of like, I guess, safety from a music standpoint, it depends on the venue and who's organizing it. Because, you know, some bookers would have your safety in mind. Some of them just like don't give a fuck. And I guess when you're starting out, you're playing all sorts of venues. You're playing anything that the person can book you for. And you don't really know if that person has your safety in mind. And you don't really know who wants to try you when you go to like certain places. So I guess it depends on the venue and the booker. Much more now after the album came out, I have a bit much more, you know, leverage, and the kind of want to at least put a bit more effort in making sure everybody's safe. You know, I guess after the album came out, people started to take notice. So yeah, but at the beginning it was kind of sketchy. Some areas were kind of sketchy. I can't lie.
Okay. Well, you know, aside from just the safety thing, I mean, to sort of bring it to maybe a slightly more positive, you know, angle here, do you feel like, you know, your success and your presence is in a way kind of like challenging, you know, the status quo and has the potential to kind of change that tide in a way with you, you know, getting as much notoriety as you've been?
Okay, so I have like huge self-esteem issues, and so the idea of changing something is something that you know is so foreign. I don't even think about it. But I think in a lot of ways I do challenge the status quo. There's this blog that posts me. It's like a Quebec blog that posts me, and every time they post me, it's just like, you know, this white dude that wore like Echo jeans. He wears like Echo jeans, being like, "Is this what the fuck is happening in hip hop these days?" Type of shit. So I think in that sense, I am challenging the status quo. But
so some guy who's trapped in the 2000s.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like you click on the profile, still reminiscing, like, oh, Up in Smoke tour was the best. You know, so that was a good tour though.
Yeah.
But you know, it's just I think people are a bit. People either, you know, take it with open arms, or people what? I think that those are the two ways. People either embrace it or don't watch.
You know, a couple other questions that I have about other artists that I know that you might have some interest or crossover with. I know that you've been, you know, you're excited for like the new Clipping album. There's like a new Clipping album. I know that you're into some Clipping, especially with their record being as like, you know, occult and dark as it was their last one. You know, and they work with a lot of different people. I mean, I'm sure if you like, you know, retweeted a few more things and shouted them out, or, you know, just reached out, like they would love to do something with you.
Jonathan Snipes said he was going to make me a beat. So.
Okay, all right. We're already there. I mean, I figured you guys are already on each other's radar. So
yeah, but like I love Clipping. You know, I'll just say like David Diggs can like rap on like just like the sound of like a clock moving.
Yeah, the alarm clock thing, or
he's that in pocket. He like can rap over and not just like single syllable shit, like multi-syllable complex shit. I've never heard anyone that in pocket, you know, and I just love everything that Clipping does in terms of just like the stories they tell and the production behind it. And, you know, they've got an incredible rapper. So it's like, what's not to love? I'm so excited for whatever they're going to do I think it's October. Yeah, I'm so
it's going to be October.
I'm so excited.
I mean, I think it's going to be almost like the sequel to the last record in a ways, or at least like some kind of kinship between the two records. So putting out another spooky album in October probably makes sense. 2 October releases in a row.
Incredible. It's gonna be good.
Another question comes from Mr. William Morancy. He wants to know: Are you familiar with the Canadian rapper Uncle Adams?
Yeah.
He wants to know if you would ever collaborate with him, but I don't want to know that. I want to know. I don't want to know if you would collaborate with him. I want to know if you could take him in a battle. That's what I want to know. Like, do you feel like at this point you could dominate the Canadian king of rap, Mr. Uncle Adams?
Okay, so here's the thing about Uncle Adam, right? Okay.
Shit, the thing about Uncle Adams. Everyone, get ready to clip this and title it. Get ready to clip this and title it "The Thing About Uncle Adams," please. Okay, go ahead. You have the floor.
Okay, when you like read the lyrics, it's not really like basic in the terms of like the way he's rhyming. You know, he's not just rhyming at the end of the bar. You know, he's doing like 3-syllable rhymes here. But I think what suffers sometimes is just the content behind it. So I don't know. In a battle, he could probably like 3-0 me. I don't know. Adam might come with the bars. He might.
I mean, Uncle Adams, he might throw more syllables in there than you do. He may throw a few extra more syllables in there, but you might end up saying some darker shit that is a little bit more original. And and puts him on the defensive. Who knows? I think it's anyone's game. If the two of you were to go toe to toe, and we were to do a socially distanced rap battle. A few people are asking, what are some of your favorite albums right now that you've been listening to?
Okay, this changes every time, so I'm going to name the ones that are at the top of my mind. You got the Dead Magic, that's incredible. Always go back to the Atrocity exhibition. Mm-hmm. Always go back to the, Any Black Dresses album, Peace Was Hell. Moody Black, Lucas Acid, that's a good one. You should check that out. Jepic Mafia's Veteran is like one of my favorite albums of all time.
Have you had any crossover with Peggy?
Okay, so Peggy came to do Pop Montreal 2017, and I was the stage girl for like the person who was performing that night. So I was just like dancing on stage, but I got a chance to see him in 2017, and it's just like incredible. It's like one of my favorite artists, but I haven't had like any crossover. It's just like somebody who I admire a lot. Veteran was just such a chaotic project. It's a project in which you're not going to do everything by the book. You're just going to do whatever the fuck you want. And that's what it sounds like. Not a lot of tracks on that project have hooks, which is weird to me because it flows as if it has a hook. Like it does. And I was just like going through that's incredible. Anyway, I was also going back to how underrated Government Plates is. It's pretty sick. I've been listening to some of the Bell Witch albums, going back to, Mayhem as well. And also anticipating Death IRL's project. And yeah, I've been listening to like a bunch of stuff, I can't lie. And Set Fire to Flames is one that I always enjoy. And of course, some of the Godspeed albums. And just all over the place, I guess.
This next person, Coffee Spoons, wants to know, and I have a question to ask off of this as well. Are there any records or artists or genres of music that you're interested in sort of like mining samples from next, or at this point? I mean, is there sort of like maybe even a sample or a sonic direction forward for your next project that you're thinking about right now?
Yeah, I'm now interested in, okay, so I can learn synth design, not that good at synth design, but I like it when you can use random noise or random sounds to kind of generate noise music. you know, just like random samples to kind of generate noise music. So I've been listening to some free jazz, and some free jazz they ends up sounding like noise, you know, and you know, just some weird Diamanda Gallas type shit has got like some elements of it that also sound like noise to me. So I'm interested in just like listening to like different genres and picking out noise samples from there, because I think that's going to be how it's going to feel like going forward. But the thing with like those types of samples is when you plant that 808, it's just kind of hard to find that key, because it just sounds like nothing. But when you get it right, it's so satisfying. So I'm trying out a few different genres, and trying to see if I can get some noise elements from those few different genres that are in front of me.
And given that you're still independent right now and independent for the foreseeable future, and the current situation that you're kind of in the middle of with the samples on your recent LP, like, are you currently rethinking your sample approach? I mean, obviously you're rethinking it artistically, but like, are you thinking your sample approach in terms of execution, what you're sampling, how you're sampling it, or even reconsidering sampling it all into the future, just, you know, considering how suddenly, you know, something you've grabbed off a record somewhere can just like come in and just fucking, you know, ruin your whole shit in a way?
Okay, so for sampling, I'm probably gonna, I guess I looked at it and I think the problem really wasn't the sampling, but it was the source of where I sampled from, because you know, they're big records. I think the idea is you know, just to approach people that are kind of you know, approach my peers as well who kind of projects out, and also just approach you know, people on the underground and see if they would, you know, be open to that. So I think that's my approach going forward, because you know, the name in essence doesn't really mean anything. It's the music that is being developed. So in that sense, I think that's how I'm going to approach it. Just my peers and anybody on the underground who's not too expensive to clear. Another chaotic approach, I guess, would be to just say fuck it and hide the sample some way in your shit. But
that's always a possibility too. That's always a possibility too. Well, you've been an amazing conversationalist coming on here and being an open book and telling me everything about everything. Is there anything that I know you just dropped the new EP? Is there anything that you're working on right now, or anything that you have coming out in the immediate future that you just want people to look out for, or anything, or you just want to shout out ways that people can connect with you or find your music?
So I'm working on my next album. It's called Heretics and the People That Made Them. And it's going to tell a story about how the church that I knew down the street was kind of demolished after somebody found a ritual inside. So it's going to be denoting that. And aside from like the stigma, and me and Ada Rook are working on a project as well. So that's going to be fun. So yeah, that's what I have.
Cool. All right, we're going to be looking out for all of that. More information on Backxwash is linked around this video on YouTube and on Twitch and all that. And thank you very much for coming through.